This is my song, this is my jam. This is my song, this is my jam.
It's the midweek drop, yeah.
This is my song, this is my jam. This is my song.
I have officially hit the recording button.
Okay.
So if you want to take your last deep breath before you let your life out, come out to the public. Do just that. Welcome to the feeling station.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It feels really nice for me to be able to connect with you on so many levels because I shouldn't say too much, but it's nice to actually see you in person. You know, so that people don't get too much of the backstory of things that they don't need to know, right?
Exactly.
But how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, feeling rested, very relaxed. I'm still continuing with my holiday, which is really nice. Yeah.
I can't wait to have my first real holiday of the year.
Oh.
I don't know where that is going to be, but it's definitely not going to be anywhere near as cold as it is here in the UK. I'm tired. Absolutely tired of this cold.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
So what we're doing here today is quite unique in that we've never really done an episode for something that is an ongoing situation, because what this podcast has become really popular for is people telling real life stories that have come to an end about relationships, and then we've learned from their lessons.
Yeah.
But as I was listening to you speaking to some of your friends yesterday, I was intrigued by what seemed to be an ongoing situation that you're not really sure how you need to tackle.
Yeah.
So I'm not here to give advice. I'm not here to tell you how you should probably deal with it. I'm here to hear the story because I like things.
No, but I feel like you have, as from a man's perspective, it would be nice to actually hear it from a man's perspective, and for someone to hear it to this depth, because the story, my relationship with this guy it's my friends who know him more, who are girlfriends, not men.
And you've not spoken to any man about this situation before? Because I'm sure you've got male friends.
Yeah, I do, but I don't share that much with my male friends. Maybe a bit, but not too much. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to give you a name that you're going to use for the duration of this chat that we're going to have.
Okay.
So I've picked a name for you from Namibia. And your name is Fio, which is F-I-Y-O. Simple, 4 letters.
Fio.
Yeah, Fio.
Okay.
If you want,
Fio.
you can shorten that for you to remember, but hopefully 4 letters are easy enough to remember. Fio. And what Fio means is everlasting love.
Oh, cool.
We hope we make this an everlasting love story, Fio.
I hope so too.
And what name would you like to give the gentleman you want to talk about?
I will call him John.
Oh yeah, just John?
Just John.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, nice and easy.
So, Fio, what's going on?
I have found myself in a situationship, whatever ship that I've had with this guy, and we're now going into 6 years or 7 years.
7 years of a situation.
Yeah, that's from 2019.
Fio.
Yes.
How?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you ask me, I can't tell you how I have found myself in this situation. Sheep. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back. You said this started in 2019. 2019. Where did you guys meet?
I met him at a club. Yes. I met him at a club. The story about how I met him is actually still a controversial story, because I really don't know how I ended up sitting at his table. I just found myself sitting in his table. And I remember when I got to his table, he was seated down. And so what happened is that we were sitting in a different table with my friends. And then one guy came and pulled me, and I thought he was going to pull me to the dance floor. But he ended up shoving me towards that guy. Okay. Towards John. And we striked up a conversation. And then it was really nice. The first night was quite good. We talked a bit. but we'd already had some drinks and so forth, and it's just fun. It was fun and nice. And when it got time for us to go home, I remember, I think I was very I'm normally a flirt. So I really flirted with him and I promised the world. But when it came time to deliver, I was not able to.
What words did you promise him?
I mean, I promised that we're going to do many, many things that night in terms of having sex. But I ended up not doing it. When it got time to go home, I said no. I said I don't want to go with him. But because I was with one of my other friends because they were hanging out as boys, a number of boys, and when my friend said she wants to go with a guy, I just thought it was going to be safer for us to be together. So I ended up spending at his place, but we never had sex.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So there's something about me. It just takes me a while before I warm up to have sex with a guy. It's just that the problem is when I meet I meet a man the first time, I will be very flirtatious, and you might think that something's going to happen, but it's going to take a very long while before that happens.
Why do you do that?
I don't know. One of my friends told me that she thinks I do that because I normally I'm looking for like a long-term thing. So that's why I do that. But I don't think that's the case. I think I just generally take time before I warm up to somebody. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how it happens, because for some people, it's easier. It can be faster. I don't know what it is that a man does. I think it's when the man is more of a gentleman, they treat me nicely, then I am able to relax a bit. But if they're not, it's just difficult for me. It's not something I easily do. I would like to be more open, but I'm not. So for the first night when I spent with him, we didn't have sex. And then I went back home. On Sunday, he called me. So that was on a Saturday. On Saturday afternoon, he called me and asked me, "Where are you? We should go out again." Because he was going out. So I later is when I noticed that he goes out a lot. Mm-hmm. And for me at that point of time, I never used to go out a lot. So he called me and asked me if I want to go out. I said no. And then he didn't speak to me again for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. And then we went out again with some of my friends. And my friend who had, something with one of his cousins, wanted to meet the guys. It was like, we're in the same club. Why don't we look for these guys? And she didn't pick the number of the guy. So I was the one who had the number of this guy, because we exchanged numbers with John's number. So when I called him, I asked him, "Where are you guys?" And he said, "Oh, we're out, but we're not in the same club. We're somewhere else." I was like, "Okay." And then he's like, "Do you want me to come?" I said, "If you're gonna come with your relative.
Yeah. Your cousin,
come with your cousin." Mm. And he was like, "Oh," he was really pissed. He was like, "Oh, so you just want to see me because your friend wants to see my cousin." Mm. So he didn't speak to me again for another, let's say, 2-3 weeks. Then out of the blue, he called me one other time and, apologized, and it was very remorseful. And we started a conversation again.
What was he apologizing for?
That he had not spoken to me, and he kind of blew out of proportion when I asked him to come with his cousin.
Was that a problem for you that he hadn't spoken to you? Bearing in mind, on the first night you had led him on.
Yes.
Nothing happened. Surely that should have been a relief for you, because you've also said you need time.
Yes.
So you're getting so it feels like you're getting things that are helpful for you, which is time, a little less pressure for you to actually deliver the sex that you promised, etc., etc. So was this silence a problem for you?
Yes, it was, because I'm expecting that you should be interested in me. You should communicate more. I'm big on communication. In any relationship whereby communication is not there, it's really difficult for me, because then I think my mind wanders, and I felt like maybe he wasn't interested, and so I told myself, I won't think about it. But when he called, because I'd liked him and it was a good conversation. When we striked up like a good, should I say, he was an attractive man. I remember when he stood, he was very tall, and when I was speaking to him, he was very quiet, which was very nice for me, because normally I really like guys who don't talk a lot. It's just nice to see sometimes, because I myself talk a lot. So so I was attracted to him, and so when he called, I feel like I forgave him or something, but I was not happy. I was disappointed that he had not communicated to me for that long.
I just want to play devil's advocate. If I've met you, you've led me on, you've made me feel like we can have something, and then when the moment comes, we don't have something, the person who is more likely to be disappointed is me.
Okay.
Because you've already said, I normally flirt. So this makes me feel like flirting comes as second nature for you. If somebody says they're a reader, I expect to find lots of books in their in their house, and that verifies that they're a reader. I'm a podcaster.
Okay.
I've got close to 200 episodes under the belt, so I can evidence that. For you to call yourself a flirter seems to suggest you flirted with enough men in the past for you to wear the badge and say, I'm a flirter. So I don't want to take too much away from it. But it sounds a bit unfair right from the onset that you're saying to someone, I'm disappointed that you're not really pursuing me, but then you missold something to them. So they're actually genuinely disappointed. And now they don't know how to proceed, because if they come searching for that same thing that you gave them a green light for, what guarantee do they have that they will actually have something coming to fruition? I'm not saying make it easy for the man.
Yeah.
But there's also a part to play in being flirtatious. And then when somebody doesn't play ball because they've been disappointed, I think he kind of deserves a bit of credit for the holding and being a bit withdrawn.
Fair enough. But the thing is, I think looking at it from my perspective is that if really you wanted to have sex, you'd pursue me more. That's my thinking.
Okay.
Around that.
Yeah, okay.
And also not really, it's not about even, it's about communicating more. It's about meeting somebody. It's not just calling me and telling me, let's go out and let's have drinks and that's it, Maybe, and just going back to the same thing is, I maybe go out thinking that I will get somebody who is long-term. But when I go out and drink, sometimes is that when I start interacting with men, I will be a bit flirtatious, but then at the end of the day, I will not cross that boundary of having sex.
So I don't want to take too much away from the story, but I'm also then just keen to understand how that has worked out for you in the past. The flirting, and then the stopping, and then the flirting and the stopping, and in all of this, you're searching for something long term.
Yeah.
Because if a pattern is repeated and it's not giving you the desired result, I would be inclined to change the pattern. Maybe remove the expectation of something long term, so that if it's something flirtatious, it ends at being flirtatious, and that's it. You get your result.
Yeah.
Or tone down the flirtatious behavior.
Yeah.
In the hope that the man really tries to find something of value between the two of you outside the flirting thing, and then planting seeds for both of you that could germinate into something meaningful and long term.
Yeah, that's quite interesting how you put it. I think that's the how I see life is, and especially relationships, and it's something I'm working on, is just knowing how to tone get a middle ground, because I think maybe probably it's my upbringing of being a Christian, or of what you being told that you need to uphold yourself, you need to do that. That also gets in the way. But I mean, fair enough what you're saying in terms of not being flirtatious, or you have to, whatever you say, you mean it, or you do it. Yeah.
Okay. So he then reaches out after 3 weeks.
Yes, he reaches
then you're
out.
a bit disappointed, but then what then happens?
Yeah. So then we continue chatting. We continue chatting and knowing each other more, and he was he started communicating as needed, and I remember one of the times we discussed about maybe going out for like a date, and he said yes, we will go out on a date, but when we were supposed to go out on a date, he didn't show up.
Oh.
Yeah, he didn't call, he was not as sending messages and communicating as he used to. So he just, like, maybe let's say a day before we went out on the date, he just pulled back. And I also went quiet. And then a few days later, he texted and again was very apologetic about not being able to reach out in terms of going out on a date. And I don't know, I was the understanding person. And I said, okay, John, that's okay.
What excuse did he give for not turning up?
He said he had to go, something, I can't really remember, but it was something to do with his child. So he has a child from a previous relationship. He has one child from a previous relationship. And he said something about his child. I myself, I don't have any kids. So, well, I didn't feel like it was very straightforward, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt and I said, that's okay. And then a few days later, he called me and asked me to go out with him. And then I went out with him. We went out, and then I went to his cousin's place. So Makiu, all this time when we are meeting, I've not gone to his house. Instead of gone to his cousin's place. This is the second time I'm meeting him, I think in his brother's house. And then there's just lots of drinks. Like it's a lot of drinking. And at that point of time for me, I remember it was on a Sunday. I normally don't go out on Sundays because I know Monday is a working day. So I remember I got there quite early. We sat, we talked a bit, and they were drinking a lot. And his friends, cousins, whatever, decided to go out. And he said, no, he's not going because he was with me. And he asked me if I want to go out. I said, no, I don't want to go out. So we remained behind. One thing led to another. Again, we made out, but again, he wanted us to have sex. I was not ready. And I think this time round, he was more understanding of me not being ready, which really, I don't know, that I connected with that, the fact that he was giving me time to actually, to be ready to have sex with him. And so, we continued the relationship, but I realized that throughout the 6 months that we had, back and forth of talking, he never, at any point that we met, he never forced me to do anything. And I think for me, when he did that, I got to a point where I was very comfortable. So the day I had sex with him is a whole other story.
So before we get there, this is now 6 months into you having your back and forth.
Back and forth, yes.
In these 6 months, is he actively saying, Theo, hey man, I'm interested in you. I like you. You're pretty. I enjoy your company. I enjoy spending time with you. I enjoy making out with you. What was he selling himself as? Is he positioning himself as someone who's actively pursuing you, or you're just hanging out?
No, we're just hanging out.
So you're just two friends who enjoy hanging out and we enjoy kissing and touching each other here and there.
Yeah. I would put it that way.
Was that problematic for you?
It was, although maybe probably I would make excuses around that. He told me that he's not willing to get married.
Okay, and you were looking for marriage?
Yes.
You had told him, I want to get married?
Yes.
Okay. So at that point that he told you, I'm not looking to get married, why did you stick around?
In my head, I really thought I could convince him.
Yeah?
Yes. I really thought I would convince him that I was a good person, that I was a good girl, that I have everything that it takes for him to change his mind.
Did some of this being a good girl meaning prolonging having sex with him?
Exactly. That's one of the things.
So was it a mind game then you were playing?
It's not really a mind game. That's how I generally work, even in other relationships that I've had. I just take longer to be comfortable to have sex. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to get an understanding of what you guys were. So it sounds like you were just flirtatious friends.
Yes. Let's put it that way. Yes.
You're flirtatious friends, and it's because you are genuinely attracted to him. So you can't really have him on the level of your boys, because you've told me you've got friends, you've got male friends that you kind of speak to, but you don't want to tell them about this.
No.
Because it's just not something they can relate to.
Yeah.
So this guy is a male friend in quotes, but you also happen to be attracted to him because you guys are making out.
Yes. So
I'm only saying that because that never ends well, usually. Because a man wants to feel like he's actively pursuing a woman to be something meaningful.
Okay.
And the moment a man knows that he can get the benefits of a girlfriend without giving the title, he will. He will.
Yeah, but that's the thing about John. He wasn't... I don't know how I can put it. It's how he was in very few, should I say, sections or sessions? Would I call it sessions or stints? Let's say stints of our interaction. There were parts that were very tender about him in how he interacted with me.
Right.
And so that really, I think, confused me and gave me some hope that there would be something that would grow. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, continue. You were telling me that in these 6 months, you keep having these conversations, and you went meeting at his house. You're meeting at people's houses, etc. And then the moment came when you decided you wanted to give him sex. That's where we had stopped. Because you say that's a whole different story. So I don't know how you want to shape that and continue.
Yeah. So maybe just to take you back is that so when I met him, I didn't have my own place. And the reason why I really thought, and maybe that's a very good question that you asked, I really thought that he could be something more, even after he had told me that he doesn't want to get married. He doesn't believe in marriage. Is that when I moved to my own place, and I remember I only had curtains, he was the first person who came to my place. And I remember one of my other friends was there, and he came, and we celebrated me moving, and he just sat there and enjoyed that moment with me. And I don't know, in my head, I really thought that maybe this could be more.
Did you move out because of him?
No.
Okay.
I was planning to move out from the beginning. Yes. So I felt that there was something more. It's like having someone giving you, what is it called? Crumbs.
Breadcrumbing.
Yes, breadcrumbing. So he would give you something really great, like for a short period of time, so that you can just feel...
Hang on to it and use that as hope.
Exactly.
To build as a stepping stone onto ideally what you want. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And I don't know. I feel like so that night when he came to my place. Also, one other thing that he normally used to do a lot, when we were hanging out, we never hung out alone. Most of the times that we've hung out with this guy, we never hung out alone. I used to call the people he would come with his entourage because he'd always come with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't mind having people around. I love to
Host.
yes. So I didn't have a problem with that. It's just that I just didn't get why we always had to be with many people.
And you hadn't been to his house, just the two of you.
No.
So you'd make out at a little corner somewhere, wherever you were, with
Exactly.
with the entourage around.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So that very day, he came with one of his cousins who was there with one of the girlfriends, I think a girlfriend. And at some point, and maybe just to add one thing is that John really parties hard. Like there's lots of drinks, lots of, should I say weed? And lots of girls I noticed around him and with his cousins and so forth. And that was a bit uncomfortable for me. But when he came to my place, he would come with, let's say, like a couple or something like that. Yeah. And so that night when we had sex, is the cousin was arguing with the lady who was there.
Yeah.
And this lady told me, please don't have sex with these guys, because when you have sex with these cousins, their families, it's like a curse. You can't seem to leave them.
Yay.
Did I listen? I didn't listen. That night, I'd already made up my mind that I was going to have sex with him, and I did have sex with him.
What made you decide now is the time? You said you needed time.
Yes.
Did you feel, so you felt now I've had enough time, I can now do this?
I think normally for me it's more of the emotional connection. So when the emotional connection gets to a point, for some guys that I've dated, it's gone up to even a year.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So I don't know, there's something, I think it's the fact that we were communicating a lot, and even in the communication we used to have a lot of arguments. And I noticed he's someone who was very short-tempered. If you say something that he didn't like, he would blow it out of proportion. And then I ended up being, I'm sorry, I hope I don't, I'd end up apologizing most of the time. And so that night I had sex with him. And
was it worth the wait?
It was.
And this was what, 6 months in?
This was 6 months in. And then again, that was, I think, on a Sunday. The next day was on a Monday, and so I was working from home. And this time is during COVID time, so we were doing a lot of going to people's houses because we had what is it called, a curfew?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's about there were no clubs, no nothing. So it was just more of moving to people's houses. And he stayed over. At that point of time, he used to work. So we would stay over he stayed over for the next day. And I mean, it was nice just to know, and it's how I think for me, one of the other things that I really liked about him is that he was very observant in what I would need, especially sexually. So him spending the day the next day really made me feel at ease. I didn't feel, there's a feeling you have as a woman when you kind of have sex with a man and then they just flee and leave. You
didn't feel used.
I didn't feel used.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the point. So yeah, I mean, we continued with this situationship.
Yeah, I was about to say. How wait a minute, we can't be calling it a relationship yet.
Situationship. For I think it was up and down, whereby he would come to my house as he pleases. Makiu, we are now almost a year in. I've not gone to his house. But when he calls me and tells me I'm on my way, I'm coming, I would be ready. I would put everything down and, tend to him. Right? And when he would communicate, the communication was not as good as it was before, but he still would communicate. And also what I noticed that he would be very nice if he wants to be, and also very bad when he could be bad. Like he could go so low. One day, I think one of the months, I was going for a checkup in the hospital for cervical cancer. And I had undergone a test before, and they told me that there was like suspect. I was suspected to have the lesions, not the cancer, the lesions. So normally there's a treatment that you go through. And so when I did the test, it came back negative. But now I was going back after a year for like a checkup, because I was told that I need to come back after a year so that they can just check. And I remember when I was on my way to the hospital, we were chatting. And it's how he said it. Like he said, how would you know if you're even barren? Because I was like, I'm scared that I'm going to do this test. And the first thing he talked about is, well, you don't have to be scared about that, because who knows? You don't have any children. You could be barren.
That's not a nice thing to say.
Exactly. Especially for somebody you're going to a place whereby you're going to get tested for something that could affect you getting a child. So so that was amongst one of the first times whereby he'd say something that is very hurtful, and then I would be pissed and I would not speak to him for a while, and then he would come back apologizing. And
this raises the question for me. Is he saying this with confidence because you guys had unprotected sex? Because why would a man be commenting about something stupid like that? I really hate that he said something like that. But it makes me feel like you guys had unprotected sex.
Yes.
And he may have ejaculated inside you, and you had not raised issues of being pregnant. Or anything of the sort.
No, okay, so I don't know about, because one thing that I knew about him is that he was very keen on not getting children. He didn't want to get any more children. And when we had sex, I can count the number of times that he actually ejaculated. So he really would control himself.
Okay.
Yes.
How about your state of mind? Because you've already described this man as always having a lot of women around him.
Yes.
And then when he came to see you, he wouldn't have them. Cool. He's putting a measure of respect in quotes. But didn't you suspect him of sleeping with other women? And if the answer was yes, the risk of him giving you something? Because your first encounter, if that's going to be unprotected, I feel that's quite risky.
Yeah.
I guess what I want to ask is, why were you prepared to take such a risk?
I mean, I think in my head, my thinking was, now saying it back, it seems very dumb, but in my thinking, if the man had waited for 6 months, then he has control. Because in those 6 months that we never had sex, we would make out and do a lot of other stuff, but just not have sex.
But isn't that even more scary? Because that level of control could indicate he doesn't need to get sex from you because he's getting it elsewhere.
Well, I didn't think of it that way. In my head, I felt like he was a controlled man. And that was actually one of the things that I felt was very...
attractive and appealing about him. Okay.
Yes. So... Where was I?
You're talking about him saying these hurtful... This was one of the first hurtful set of things.
Some of yes, exactly. So that's the first one he told me. And then he was also very keen to about my job, John has always had a problem with my job because my job is really busy. Like when I sit on my desk, I wish I could have those kinds of jobs whereby you can just sit on a desk and put a coat and walk away.
Yeah.
Because for him, he had such a job. He worked in government, so it was way easier for him to do that. Because even in the time that we've been together, he would just walk in on a Monday or on a Tuesday or on a Friday. And for me, my work is more structured in that sense. So he would say like funny comments about me not giving him time, me concentrating on my job, that sometimes I need to leave my job and risk my job. And in all this time, this man is not giving me any money. And in the beginning, when we started, he would be a decent man. And when we had the parties, he would bring drinks for all of us. But then with time, because he saw how I started growing when I moved to my own place and started getting my own stuff, he somehow just stopped. He would come to my house with his drink and even plastic cups.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had to sort myself and get my own drinks if I needed to drink.
Wow.
Yes. Makiu is coming to my house. He's eating my food. He's sleeping in my bed. He's sleeping with me. But he didn't see the decency to even bring a drink or even something. Yeah.
The thing that we spoke about when you say, he was quite good at making you feel like he's not using you after you've had sex. Because you would have sex and then he would make you feel good about it the next day, etc., etc. But he seems to be, I hate to put it this way, using you for other things. In the sense that he's quite keen to bring his own drink without bringing you yours. And then he's quite keen on coming to have food without bringing the stuff to make it happen at yours. He's quite happy to be sheltered under your roof when you still hadn't been to his
place. Yes.
You see what I mean? So there's a lot of things that he's doing selfishly for himself and for his benefit without reciprocating and making the same thing happen for you.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives me the sense that he was using you. And you've also said he would see you when he felt he wanted to see you and when he was ready to see you. You haven't yet described the time when you've said, hey, can I see you today? And then he's actually honored that and just come at your beckon and call. So far.
Yes. Yeah. Till now, the story is the same. I don't think there's any time whereby I have wanted him to maybe hang out or to go out or to do whatever, whereby he has just accepted. And I think the problem is it's how he set the standard of how we would interact.
From the onset. Right.
So in the beginning, I couldn't call him. He would call me.
Why couldn't you call him?
If I called him, he just hung up the phone.
And when you asked him why he hung up, what would he say?
He'd say, I'll call you back. And he'd never call. And I just don't know why I think it's because I asked myself in my head, do I have the authority? What authority do I have to ask about that? Okay.
And your answer would be?
He's already said that he doesn't want to get married.
So no authority?
Yeah, so no authority. So if I think about it now, it's madness. Like just sitting there and waiting for him to contact you. And I think one of the things that I really held on is, I think you really put it well, it's that part for sex. He always made me feel, every time we had sex, he always made me feel that he wasn't using me. But if I was to look at all the other areas, I think he was using me.
Yeah.
And abusing me emotionally.
That's the sense I'm getting on this end. I know you're still making this unfold, but I know if I don't say this now, by the time we get to what today looks like, I would have forgotten. So excuse me for interjecting and asking, but it just helps me get some of those things out the way. Okay, so you were still talking about the had we finished talking about the Baron comment? Yeah, to say
I finished. It's just an example of how he would be very
abusive with
his words. So he'd say something. That's one of the things that really and there were many other smaller things.
Like what?
Like not really smaller, like okay, maybe the ones that I really, because it's been quite a while and there've been many when he has just spoken out of context or really said something very painful. One of them is on WhatsApp we would share exchange pictures, and there's a picture. He knew very well that I was on a weight loss journey, and I had lost a lot of weight at that point of time, and I was looking good, and I know I was looking good. And I sent him one of the pictures when I had gone for holiday, and the first thing he said is that you look way older than your age. Yeah.
He's not really trying to make you feel like a queen, is he?
But the funny thing is that when he was around me, or when he was in the context of intimacy, there is something about how he is intimate with me that is very different. I don't feel like somebody is taking advantage of me.
It's very different to what?
It's different to how I've had, intimate moments, or should I say sex with other men. Yeah. There are aspects about him whereby it's the way he'll set the day. He'll set the day in a way that you feel so good. It's like he creates this environment whereby you feel safe, you feel secure, and he'll say things that make you feel you're comfortable. I remember the first times when I think when he met me, I'd lost a lot of weight. I sent him a picture of me, 2 pictures of how I'd lost weight. And, what he said was, for me, it was really touching, because he'd say something like, I don't see a difference between the two of you. You're still the same person. So I felt like that statement actually sums up how he made me feel when we were having sex. Yeah.
So can I just draw your attention to something? When you first met him at the club,
yes,
one of the things that you said to me was you're quite flirty.
Yes.
And you've got the experience behind to back that up, to say that you're flirty. So you know the right things to do and say to make a man feel like, oh, this is really going to happen. But then when the time comes, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's the same with him? In terms of knowing that if he knows that I want to get Theo and I really want to have good sex, I say the right flirty, same amount of things, except that I see you through. And we have sex. So in terms of him being very good with his words and making you feel great, is exactly the same with what you used to do to make a man feel great with the flirtatious stuff, except that you wouldn't carry on and have sex.
Okay.
So you knew whatever outcome you wanted it in that moment with that guy to flirt and do whatever, whether it was to get yourself more drinks or to eventually make out and have a good time later on. You knew what your end result was.
Yeah.
That's why you would flirt. Otherwise, why do we need to flirt? As humans, we only do things because we are satisfied with the outcome. So all I'm getting with this is, I know you describing him as the man always knew the right things to do and the right things to say to make you feel like sex is what he wants, and he was really kind and generous and good to you.
Yeah.
All he was doing was trying to pursue something to satisfy his need.
No, but the issue is not that, like, unlike other men, he would, how can I say, like, you'd expect that they would want to have sex a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't somebody who would come or should I say have sex many times. Like, how can I put? I want to put it in a better way. He was not the kind of person. I've been in relationships before, and when you are with somebody, right? There's a certain level of when you want to spend time with that person and have sex with them.
Yeah.
But for him, it was like more very sporadic.
Mm-hmm.
And in those sporadic moments, there were very tender moments whereby he just knew the right things to say that made me feel safe.
Where do you think he learns that behavior from?
I don't know.
You don't get good at something overnight. And by doing it sporadically. Mike Tyson didn't fight 3 times in his career. He fought many times. And probably every time he perhaps got better or more skillful. Mm-hmm. If I decide to start running a marathon, but I'm running once a year, I'm never going to do it. Because I'm not getting better. I get better by practicing more regularly, more frequently. Mm-hmm. How is he getting better at knowing the right things to do and say? And how is the sex? Describe it on a scale of 1 to 10. Give it a number.
The sex was good. Yeah. I would give it like an 8.
You look like you're having flashbacks.
Solid 8. Hey, yeah.
You don't get that good at sex by having it once every month.
But are there no natural, like people who are born innately
talented? I don't know.
This man, John is very talented.
I don't know, but remember, you've got that other woman who's told you the same thing. You know, don't have sex with these people because once you do, you can't break this off. Because maybe, okay, fine, maybe there is a spirit that they have that empowers them to do all of this stuff so magically.
I think there should be a spirit.
But from the sound of things right now, it doesn't quite sound like you're in a very good spot in terms of the control that you have over the situation. And I think that's a bit worrying. Not for me, but it should be for you. Because you've also mentioned in passing that the behavior is consistent. That he only looks for you when he wants. And when you needn't be available, he's not really available.
Yeah.
So...
why?
Yeah.
I guess maybe what I'd say is that throughout the years, where I've ended up being with him is that even within how we've been interacting, the other men, because within the 7 years, there have been stints whereby we have broken up. So, like, for instance, maybe just to say that the first time we really broke up, and it was quite a while, it was like for 2 years, I think I'd just gotten to a point whereby I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want that kind of life. I noticed that there are many other things in my life that really changed, because during the COVID era, it was more of just being in the house, having house parties and so forth. And I kind of, and my friends we were not meeting with my friends because some of my friends had moved back home. And so I ended up being alone most of the time and hanging out with him a lot more. And I ended up starting to pick up some of the, drinking behaviors that he had with his group of people. And I also noticed that, his life is just busy. It just used to be very, very, not busy, like busy with drinking. Like it would be on a Monday morning, he's sending you a picture of drinking. Tuesday morning, he's sending you a picture of drinking.
Wow.
So it's somehow like you want to... I don't know why I felt the need to kind of keep up. I guess I felt if I kept up or lived that life, then maybe he'd accept me, or he'd now change his mind and be a better person. But I realized that was not the case. And then I think right before I broke up with him the first time, he took me to his house finally.
After how long?
I think probably 1.5 years.
Wow.
So most of the time we'd either meet at people's houses or meet in my house.
So what was his reason for you going to his house? But why did he finally say come?
I don't know. He just woke up one day and invited me to go to his place. So one of the reasons why we would not go to his place, because his place was far off from the city. So it's quite far from the city.
Like how long? If you're to travel from the city
if you're going to travel plus the traffic, probably maybe 2 hours.
Yo. Okay.
Yeah, so it used to be far. And for me, as I said, I had a very busy job. And I think, to be honest, that is on me in terms of I was more comfortable being in my own space. Yeah. So I'd not have to move stuff or, yeah.
So why is it important to mention that you finally went to his house?
Because I feel like if you're coming to my house for over at least a month, it will only be fair for somebody a man to host you in their house. Yes. Especially if you're now having sex. There's nothing really much. And you're saying you don't have any other women or so. So if you would invite me to your house. I'm thinking he should be inviting me to his house. Yeah. Not just in my house most of the time. So
how did you feel when you got this invitation and you went?
I mean, I don't know. Again, it's me thinking that that was a sign of we are moving in the right direction. And when I went to his house, it was a very nice house. And it's a house is purchased. So again, looking at it from the point of, maybe I'd say on my side is that seems like it's somebody who's organized. But one thing I noticed, because I think it's been a long time, but in some of the rooms, you'd find that there's still stuff from his previous relationship.
What happened to them, by the way?
He never shared that.
Even after you asked?
Yeah, he just said he's not going to speak about it. He said it didn't work out. He told me that his baby mama wanted to get married and he didn't want to get married. And so he left her.
Yeah. Wow. I'm only chuckling at that because that's further reinforcement to the extent at which this union with him is going to get you. If he's left the mother of his child because she wanted to get married and he didn't, and then now he's with you and is singing the same song.
But I don't know, I get a feeling that that's a statement he said that is, what they normally say, the danger of a single story. From the interactions he would have with his baby mama in the house, it seems like there is something he did wrong.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah. But I wouldn't know because I was not able to. I've not, in all this time, I've not been able to meet the baby mama.
So you said you broke up from a relationship.
Yes.
And then I'm assuming you got back.
Yeah, we broke up for I think 2 years. 2 good years.
And breaking up means not communicating.
We were not. I blocked him. I was not communicating with him. Anybody, his cousins.
What happened?
Who tried. I think it was just, those times where you just have like an awakening. Sorry. I realized that I was getting older. It was 2 years in and I was still dealing with this man. Back and forth with him.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I need to try. I owe it to myself to try and leave him. Yeah. And so the first thing I said is cutting communication and, the sex. Yeah. So that's it was just one day I woke up. I think it was something I knew it was coming, and I just wanted. And in those 2 years, I really really thought that I'd gotten over him. I think after a year, I went through the whole process of grieving and trying to work around and build myself emotionally, and 2 years in, a year after I'd broken up with him, I met a guy, and again it was the same cycle whereby it took a while before again I had sex with him. But the worst part is that when I had sex with this guy, the relationship kind of ended. So it's like I just stretched again probably one night stand, and I found myself being alone after a year. So I think that was the trigger that made me unblock him.
How important is a sense of control to you as a person in general, with your friends, with your family, and in particular with John?
What do you mean by sense of control?
Because the only sense of control it sounds you may have had over this whole situation was the initial control over when you decide to have sex. Because beyond that, you have no control over when he sees you. You've got no control over what he brings you. You've got no control over the friends that he brings around you. You have no control over when you go to his house. And you have no control over the narrative that is sold about what happened with his baby mama. You have no control over when he picks up your calls. So I'm asking this because maybe after 2 years, you kind of realized I actually have no control over this and I'm just playing a waiting game over this man. And out of frustration, you decided I'm going to block you because then that way I've got a measure of control over, what you do to me and what you say to me. And then you were very keen to say, I stopped the sex too, which is the one thing that you can't add a lot of control over initially.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just hard to hear that. I guess you don't realize. I didn't realize that. Actually, I didn't realize. Probably it's because I have put, the first encounter of sex in such a high pedestal that it has just overshadowed most of the things. And clearly, I don't know why, within myself, I find it that I have to hold that back. I feel like that's what I have control over. And so when the funniest thing is that when I noticed that, because the gentleman that I started seeing a year after breaking up with him, he was a very nice guy. He treated me really well, took me out. And I thought we were heading somewhere. And a few months in after we had sex and he didn't speak up, I just said, it's the same thing. Why am I killing myself? I think better the devil I know than the angel I don't know out there. Because you can have somebody who's really, they act like they're nice, but they're still saying the same thing when they do that, or when they kind of use you. I think I have a big fear of being used.
I think so.
Yeah. I have a very big fear of being used sexually. Yeah. Anyway, back to the story. So...
You had a little difficult moment just now. What was going on?
I think that's whatever. I have a history of being abused when I was younger. And Yeah, I just don't want to get into that. That's the hard. That one, no. Let's get back to talking about John.
Okay.
Yes. So, when the gentleman disappointed me, I unblocked him, and I don't know. I have a feeling that, not even a feeling, I really think that John really knows how to read me, because as the moment I unblocked him, he started communicating with me. It didn't even take a week before we started communicating again. And we were back to the same old relationship whereby he would promise stuff, say he'll take me out, he never takes me out. This time round, after 2 years, I find out that till now, I really do not still know if he has a job, because he told me that he quit his government job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he had his government job, he was, a bit, I think you could tell that he was doing much better. He had, a purpose, if I would say. He looked like somebody, he was eating well, but when we reconnected, I noticed that he was, and this time round, he was very keen for me to come to his house. He was not very keen to come to my house. And in my head, I was like, oh, we're getting somewhere. That's what my head was telling me, that I was going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember one of the days I went with my friend. And when we got there, I had not seen him. I remember when I saw him, he had lost so much weight and he's tall. And he just looked like he was a sick person. And, we met, we spoke a bit, and I could tell he had lost his, should I say his swag, his swing to what do you say? The swing to his walk or something like that. Yes.
Yeah, the bounce in his step.
The bounce in his step. He had lost that.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, my conclusion is either he quit his job and he was not able to maintain, the lifestyle that he was living. But he seems to come from a well-off family.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said he moved to a different city.
Yeah.
And was back and forth between houses, between two cities, the two cities where he was staying and where I was staying.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we had, it was nice to see him. It was really nice to see him again. And as I said, John always had people in his house, just people, girls, boys, like anybody. You just have this. There were always people in his house.
Mm.
And so when we came in that time, they had thrown a party, and I saw how they were playing cards. They were playing like gambling.
Mm-hmm.
You were gambling, and the way they were gambling, it seems like it's something they do a lot.
Right.
And then like the house was just in chaos. At one point in that party, there was a fight that started.
Mm-mm.
And the guys who were in the house, the cousins to John, had a problem with one of the guys who had been invited, who was making out with his girlfriend in one of the rooms. And I don't know how everything happened, that the fight broke out. And my friend told me, let's leave. I don't think it's a good idea if people kill each other here. Why would you find yourself here? So he picked up all our stuff and ran down. But when I got to the car, I couldn't go.
Mm.
I told my friend, you go. She told me, no, we have to go. What if somebody dies? And at that moment, I realized I really didn't, like my life, me seeing him and staying with him, or just having a glimpse of him, even in however he looked, was I was willing to stay back and to see what would have happened. I didn't see the severity of what was happening
at the moment. Yeah. Mm.
And so when I had a quarrel with my friend and actually walked out and said, I told her, leave if you want to leave. Imagine. So I think my friend kind of just understood that, you know, she knew what was going through with this guy, and what she did is that she just sat back. And so when this guy saw me walk back, he ran very fast because he knew that my friends are they're against him. So they would always want me to separate from him. So he knows how to, like, so he was very patient. He came, sat there. John waited, made sure that my friend had calmed down, and made sure that my friend came back to the house. So the next day we had some issues with my friend, but I think we talked it over and that, you know, passed. But I remember when we left that place, my friend told me, because the same house, there were still girls in that house. Even when we were about to leave, there were some girls who walked in, young girls, you know, campus girls. These are men in their mid-30s. They have campus girls walking in and walking out of the house.
Did any of them seem like they were interacting more with John than you would like? Or you turned a blind eye to that?
I mean, I've gone to most of the parties. I don't see him keen to interact with other women. I think this party, the one that I walked into, and Mark, this is after I've started talking to him after 2 years. There was a lady, a young girl who was there, and it looked fishy. But when I was a bit uncomfortable, I saw him, you know, make sure that I know that we are together. Yeah. But in my head, I was just like, because one of his cousins, there were two girls who walked in. One of his cousins was with one of the girls. So who was the other girl for, you know? But then, you know, he made me feel at that point of time that I was with him. And, you know, the way he would, you know, give me PDA and make sure that I'm sitting on him and so forth and so forth. I felt comfortable. But I didn't stay for long because that was now the next day. Right? Yeah, so when I was leaving the house, maybe just to say that the one of the key things that came out in that party is that I was willing, even after years of not seeing him, I was willing to lose a very, you know, a very strong friendship for him. So that really scared me. It really scared me. Came back, we started conversing. And again, it was just the same thing. He started having issues with my job. He'd, you know, ask me, because now I was traveling a bit more. I changed jobs and I was traveling a bit more. And he would, you know, question, why am I traveling? What am I doing? Why do I work so much? He shows up and I'm just busy working. I need to stop working if he's around. And in my head, when I look at him, he doesn't seem like he has a job. And he's staying at his parents' house. He lied to me that he's moved to a different city and he lives alone. And, you know, when you are talking to somebody on video call, you can actually see the surrounding. So one of the other days he called me and he was showing me his parents' house. And it was the same house that he said it was. So that's why I had a thought that probably he lost his job or he quit his job and then things didn't work out. And as I said, this John was just like, his life is almost like one big party. And when you speak about that, it's a problem. When it was like, oh, you are talking about I don't have a problem with drinking. I don't have a problem with parties. And when I asked him, why do you always have girls in the house? Like, but have you seen me with those girls? I'm not with those girls. Yeah. So I think the thing that made me break up with him the second time is that I went to the city where he was working, and he came to visit me in my hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he was busy complaining about me going to work. Why should I go to work? Why am I going to work? And the reason why I'm in that city is because I'm there for work.
Yeah.
So why would I not go to work?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we had an issue with that. And that I was there for a week and was staying over for the weekend. So I was really looking forward to staying with him longer.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is that I've never stayed with John more than let's say 3 or 4 days together.
Mm-hmm.
There'd always be something wrong. Even when he used to come to my place, something came up and he'd walk away. And that really used to hurt. Like he'd just randomly walk away. He'd walk into my life and then walk away when he wants to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
So this time round when I was in that city where he stays, I came back from work at around 5 and I was very excited because it was a Friday. At least I could give him the time that he needs because he'd been complaining about spending time. And I was in the city for another few days, so I was taking in the weekend. And I was excited at least we would stay, we would go out or do something together. But when I walked in, he was not talking. So there's something about him at times when when he's mad, he would just not talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe just to take you back is that when he came back the second time, he was a bit more open to share a lot about his life and his struggles in terms of drinking. He told me something about he has issues with, he thinks he's bipolar, but he's not been diagnosed as a bipolar person. So when I saw him when I walked in to the room on Friday, he was quiet. So I just kept quiet. I sat, put on the TV and I told myself, I don't want to say much.
Mm-hmm.
We sat there, I think, for around 10 minutes. This is Friday. We sat there for around 10 minutes. And then I saw him pack his things and leave. Yeah. I'm trying to ask him what is going on. Because when I saw him packing his stuff, I just asked him, what is the issue? What is wrong? He didn't speak to me. He packed his things and he left. And that really hurt because I was wondering or asking myself why I was still entertaining him. It's like my life flashed in front of my eyes that I'm doing the same thing. And I just didn't speak to him that whole weekend. And it was a series of me rethinking blocking him again or not blocking him or blocking him. But the worst part is that the days that he was there, we really had a good time. He was more open. We've never sat for long without fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So this time around, I somehow I could see he was trying to be better. Or maybe let's say he was not, he would call me. I would be able to call him.
Mm-hmm.
Funny to thinking about it now that you can actually just find yourself in a situation whereby calling somebody is not something that is mandated in a relationship. Like someone makes you feel that communicating or your need for communication is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So with all these things, yes.
And this is how far into everything now, from start to the breakups. This is how many years in now?
Now we are 4
years in.
Yeah, 4 years.
And he still hasn't actively said, Theo, I want you to be my woman. You guys are essentially just going with the flow.
Oh yeah, we are. But the worst part is that he would call me randomly. So he would call me even in the previous years. That's why it was very confusing for me when we were still together. The 2 years before I broke up with him, he would call me. I remember he called me one of the days when, I think it was in October because, we met around the same time. So the previous year, the same time. So he called me and he told me, do you know today is our anniversary?
You see, this is what if you listen to the podcast enough, you would know. It's something I keep banging on about. Because it really gives a measure of accountability to both. In terms of, I think more to the man on the day that he asks you to be their woman, because then you got something to look forward to in terms of an anniversary. One for starters, and two, for a fact that this is my person. And previously you said you felt you had no authority.
Yeah.
Because he's not giving you that title.
Yeah.
So even asking a question like, do you know that today is our anniversary? It's a bit of a funny question coming from someone who's not asked you to be their woman. That's one. And two, that you've not empowered to have the authority to feel like they can ask certain questions of their man.
Yeah.
And they can do the same of their woman. How did you respond to him asking you that question about the anniversary?
At that point of time, I was really, because the relationship we had is that I was always keen not to make him mad, because when I made him mad, he would do something that would hurt me, either walk away or say something that would hurt me. So I'd be very keen to just go with the flow. But to me, that was very weird for somebody to say, you forgot. And he was actually pissed that I forgot the anniversary.
Wow. Did you know that was the anniversary though?
No.
You wouldn't, right?
I wouldn't know because
he never,
he never spoke about anything.
So what does he tie that to as the anniversary? Is it the first day you guys had sex?
The first day we met.
Hey, at the club? Mad thing. That is just mad.
Yeah. Yes. So back to the story. Where was I? I haven't forgotten where I was.
No, you got to the part where he packed his things.
Yeah, and left, yes.
And then he just packed and left, yeah.
Yeah, and he left.
And that was the second breakup.
Yes. And I remember I was so pissed. And I remember sending him a message and asking, what did I do? Why would you? Literally, it's like he walked out, he ran away, because I remember opening the door and seeing him go down the stairs. And I'm like, what's going on? I don't know what is going on. Then he calls me the next day and he's profusely apologizes and says, sometimes I have these episodes whereby I know that these are, there are issues we are going through. I don't, it's me. He like kind of put in a whole issue about him having a depressive moments.
And this is a new thing, right?
Yeah, this is a new thing. This is after now he had told me about like having those kinds of episodes. And so I think I was a bit lenient to him, because I was like, at least he's been honest to say that maybe these are things he's going through. So, but to me, when he walked away, I was just like, I felt like it was the same thing that he was doing over and over again. Yeah, he says he wants us to meet, but I just said I'm not going to entertain him anymore. So I told him I'm not available. Actually, so what I noticed is that if I stop talking to him, if I just don't answer his texts, he becomes more gentle.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
So when I came back to the city where I live, I just decided, I told myself I'm tired of dealing with this. And again, I blocked him.
And this was more out of frustration now.
Yeah, this was because of frustration.
Right.
I blocked him. But there were so many things that had changed this second round. He was more communicative. He really wanted me to go more to his place. Also, there's one thing that was very keen for him. He wanted me to go with him to his friend's wedding. He also at some point he wanted to introduce me to his son.
How old was his son at this point?
8, I think 8, something, yeah. So yeah, he wanted to introduce me to his son.
Yeah.
But in one of the days, he wanted to introduce me to his son, but I was not able to go. And then another aspect that came out that I think in my head made me feel like we're progressing is that he was more like, in terms of he was very keen. He now noticed that if he does anything wrong, I'll block him and he'll not have access to me. So I think that's something I kind of got. And if he did anything, it was something I would just randomly block him and there's nothing he could have done. So he was very keen to be, he was softer.
He was keen to be on your good side.
Yes, to be on for him to be on my good side. And then also one thing that I noted is that he kept on saying that we are dating. Secondly, he also was very keen to have a child with me.
How did you take all those things? Did you take them as well-wished, in good form, in good spirit?
I think it's a bit of both. It's a bit of, to me, I feel like that's progress, but also I don't trust him. I really didn't trust him to keep his word, because then there are so many times that he has failed or he has not kept his word. So even when he says these things, I take it with a pinch of salt. Actually, the reason why, so that I think I blocked him twice. The reason why I really blocked him for a number of months, again, after this session, this his city hotel thing, is that he told me that he wants to invite me for his son's birthday.
Before you tell me about the birthday, I was asking that question because I'm leaning more towards on the suspicious side of this, not the goodness of his heart.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Because let's just take a step back, and I won't labor this point on for too long. This guy knew that being a dictator no longer worked, because at some point being a dictator meant that you blocked him. So he never used to invite you to his house, never wanted to talk about his ex, didn't want you to meet his son, wasn't really talking about marriage, wasn't trying to be as public as you would have wanted to be. And when the door opened up, he knew that if I continue this behavior, I will not get the results that I desire anymore. So let me switch up some of the controls I had locked up. So let me invite her to the home. Let me show her about the home. Let me introduce the son. Let me introduce invitations to public spots. Let me be more PDA, so that if ever you need to block him, you need to find something else that's problematic, not these things that were problematic before. So as far as he's concerned, remember he described him as a breadcrumber. Yeah. Breadcrumbing and manipulation are synonymous. They're the same thing. They come from the same WhatsApp group. If I know that it matters to you to feel cuddled and loved after having sex, I will do whatever, but then have nice sex and then make you feel wanted. So drop that little crumb so that you got something to hang on to. Yeah. And he knows that works. Okay, this part of the formula is great. Yeah. Hey, now I've been blocked because she's not coming to my house. I'm not visible enough. I need to be more transparent, more open. Yeah. That's why I say I view this with suspicion. Because this guy knows that this method of breadcrumbing has worked, but only up until this point. Now I need to introduce a few more crumbs to the equation. Exactly. So that she doesn't have a reason to leave, because now I've got, more crumbs on the floor to be picked up. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I view this with suspicion. Yeah, you're right. Because and then now also let's talk about the language. Yes. You've got a man who is saying to you from the onset, I don't want to get married, and that's the reason why I split with my missus, didn't want to marry her, blah, 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 blah. How about I now start talking about, today's our anniversary date, to say that this is the forefront of my mind. I think about who we are as a unit. And I want to take this to the next level, but I'm not going to say I want to be in a relationship with you, but I'm now saying we are dating. Yeah. So for somebody, I think it's important for you to feel included in something
Yes.
Being a part of something somehow feels like it matters to you.
Yes, it does.
And off the back of that, he's now saying you are part of us and I'm calling us an item and we're dating. So you're going to see value in that.
Exactly.
Because then if there was no value in it, you wouldn't have mentioned it. That for some reason they now started talking about you guys dating.
Yeah.
So my point of view, I know you still continue with the stories. I'm viewing that with a lot of suspicion.
Yeah.
Because he's just finding more crumbs to feed for you to latch on to and to hang on to.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened because when the day came and, you know, I asked him, so are we still on for the particular day? And he laughed and said he has one of his friends who has a wife and a baby mama. And the friend has issues with both of them because the baby mama keeps on fighting. She wants to kind of be elevated to be like a wife. And so he said, when I told him, so are we still on? He laughed and said, I was joking. Yes, I was joking. You know, I don't want issues like my friend.
Yay!
I blocked him straight away.
Wow.
So I blocked him and I said,
but have you noticed you block when you're made to feel disposable?
Yeah.
Even with the guy you had in between.
Yeah.
The one who eventually decided to go after you guys had had sex. Block, gone.
Yeah.
You know, first time when you wanted to have a little bit of I feel control over what things were really making you feel, which is great. You know, I really like that. Block, gone.
Yeah.
Same with this. You got my emotions excited, elevated about being a part of something that's really important, and now you've just dumped me when I felt it was time to act. Block, gone.
Yeah, exactly. I guess, and I think just to speak about that is that throughout this, that's why I didn't feel, I didn't know how to feel about sharing the story because I feel like I still need to unlock. When I say I'm blocking someone and I'm leaving them, I need to leave and not just block. Because, you know, it's very easy for you to close a door or put a barrier. But if the water, if you're in like a dam, if the barrier is, how can I say, if the water is still coming in, then it can actually break the barrier. Yeah. So I think that's the analogy that I have around this. And as I said, I'm still working around it. What I'm proud of is, and I think I'm going way ahead of myself, but I'm almost actually done with my interaction with this guy. The main thing is that it's finding ways of how to deal with the deeper issues and not... I think my interaction with him is more of a symptom of an issue that I'm going through.
You know, I was tempted to grab my phone so that I make a note of this. And I'm going to do my best to be sensitive to you because you've asked us to leave something for another time. And I think a separate conversation you need to have with somebody who's actually professionally trained to deal with abuse.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like feeling valued. And apart from feeling valued, having that sense of control, and not even control, but just that ability to say, I have a voice that matters, that is listened to and can be acted upon, is very, very, very important to you.
Exactly.
And I think your interactions with what is happening with this guy are symptomatic of whatever that past is.
Exactly.
So maybe up until you have a conversation with somebody who is adequately trained to help you through that, I think it might just be a case of bumping into a few more bad boys who, you know, might make the situation worse.
Yeah.
But also think about the thing we spoke about right at the beginning, which is the flirtatious behavior.
Yeah.
Right? Flirtatious behavior makes you feel craved and wanted. Any man does love a flirty woman. Because a flirty woman also makes the guy feel comfortable enough in their ego to say, oh, she wants me like that. And what that is doing for you is giving you a sense of validation that, hey, here I am. I am attractive. I've lured you in. I've got you in the palm of my hand. And now I'm going to control what this is about because I have a voice that needs to be heard within me.
But then now you see that's the issue is that the voice actually ends after I have sex. Because after that, I'm still the same person who goes back and I don't have the control that that I need to have.
Yeah.
I realized one thing that I also realized that in my life, I'm very vocal about. I would say I'm a feminist. Like I wouldn't anything that is unjust. I'd be very stern and I would voice out. And I have a loud voice. I actually have a boisterous voice. I walk in and I can make people keep quiet.
You can command a room.
I can command a room. But I do not know why in a relationship I'm normally very diplomatic. Like I cease to have that voice. And sometimes things happen to me and it's like I want to stop it, but I seem not to be able to stop it. Yeah. So it's a thing that, again, as I said, something I need to work around. Because I feel like I try, but within my trying, maybe I might need some help in terms of
definitely.
that. Yeah.
I was going to say we all need that crutch. There's a time when I messed up my ankle really badly, and I thought I had the strength to walk on it. And every time I walked on it, I made it worse until I was given a crutch.
Yeah.
And I was given just one. But the amount of relief it gave me was shocking.
Yeah.
That was a fundamental life lesson for me.
Yeah.
In terms of coming to appreciate that sometimes you need to be equipped with the right things to help you, be carried over. And I couldn't have made that assessment without getting medical help from someone.
Exactly.
I feel you need to get that help from somebody who is trained.
Yeah.
From a therapist. Because I think there is that very deep-rooted issue. What is good for you, though, is you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's a very good starting point. You are very aware of the existence of something that has happened in the past. May not be as aware of the impact it is having now, but you have a suspicion that it has a part to play.
Exactly.
And maybe all you need now is that courage to make that step to engage someone actively.
Yeah.
When I lost my mother 11 years ago.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, thanks. It was a very difficult time. 3 things happened very quickly. Lost an uncle on my birthday, on my 30th. Lost my mom almost exactly 6 months after that. Lost my best friend 6 months after that.
Ooh,
and then
tough.
The whole time I thought I had a coping mechanism until on one day I could not get out of bed. I physically could not get out of bed. My chest was incredibly sore for 3 days nonstop.
Yeah.
If I saw bright light, I couldn't face it. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to talk to anyone. Didn't want to have friends. My body eventually told me, hey, bruh, it's time. We're tired of trying to lift you up. We don't have the strength. The same way my uncle gave up and is like, hey, we don't have the strength. I knew I had to talk to someone. It took me 9 months to eventually ring up a therapist and say I need help. Because now I was dealing with that indoctrination that you're an African man. You should never be so weak that you have to try and get help from someone. Right? You're a man, hold it in, get your stuff together. Those 9 months were incredibly difficult. I got to a point where I would Google a name, I would find a name, then I would try and look for reviews to see why this person is such a bad idea for me to go to. And I would find the review and then I wouldn't go. It was
Yeah.
it was only up until my best friend just said to me, "Do you know what? It would be painful to know that we lost you for something you could have helped." Those words is what broke me. Then I eventually made a phone call,
Yeah.
and that phone call and the therapy sessions that came after that were the best thing I ever did.
Wow.
What they eventually said was that I was dealing with acute grief.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that if that is not dealt with, it's going to impact not only my relationships with my friends
Yeah.
and my work situation, because if I had repeat episodes of failing to go to work, eventually put on a plan.
Exactly.
And then you lose your job.
Yeah.
When you lose your job, you go into depressive state. You now can't talk to the people who are trying to care for you.
Exactly.
So they're like, if you want to affect every other living relationship that you can make the most out of, then it's okay. I'm not here to help you. I'm the wrong person to help.
Yeah.
So getting that help, as difficult as it was, took me 9 months, is the best thing that I ever did.
Okay.
And I think you're thinking about getting help.
No, I actually have tried getting a therapist before.
How's that going?
It's just that I didn't connect with that particular therapist.
And okay, I can encourage you. I went to 3 before.
Thank you for saying.
But I went to 3 before I found the right
What one? Ah, okay, okay.
It's I think
that's a good one.
I think therapy is a spiritual thing,
Yeah.
right? You know how right now is we're sat here. There's a satellite somewhere that is beaming different news channels, BBC, CNN, Sky News, right? You can only tune into one if you're in the right frequency.
Yeah.
And until you lock into the right frequency, you don't get what you want out of a service.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a deeply spiritual thing. Whatever it is that you believe in,
Yeah.
whether it's God or the sun or the moon or whatever it is,
Yeah.
spend time in that and ask it to help you connect with the right individual to heal your soul.
Yeah.
That is very important. And when you don't bump into the right one, don't feel bad about
yeah.
it or think that it's got something wrong to do with me. You're just not aligned spiritually with that individual for them to hit the right spot. I went to 3.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I think people don't, when you talk about therapy, I've always met people who have spoken about therapy, but it's been, I went to a therapist and now I'm undergoing therapy. Nobody actually speaks about how do you meet, when you meet a therapist who seemingly has good reviews and you're just not connecting with this person, or you don't feel comfortable enough to be, or to work your way. As you said, like get someone who, you're connecting spiritually. I think that really, it doesn't, for me, I feel like it's just like talking to a wall.
Yep.
Because it's like, even when you want to work around it, you're just not there.
The first 2 for me felt very programmed.
Yeah.
They felt they had to read from Sigmund Freud's book to match it to this and that and that. The one that worked.
Yeah.
All they said to me when I visited them were like, okay, what's up? That's all they said.
Yeah.
And then it just came out.
Yeah.
All of it. So without realizing what therapy was, I assumed therapy means you're bringing a problem and you're being given a solution.
Yeah.
But sometimes what it is just having an individual who's got no history or background about you, who's genuinely curious about what has happened to you, and just allow you to speak and be yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
When we finished, all he asked was, hey, what's your availability over the next few weeks? I want to work around your program. I gave him a few dates. Next time that I came, visited the same room. And then he says, hey, man, I didn't know how to tackle last week. But if ever you felt you need to use this box, I've got enough tissue this time. And then we started off with a joke.
Yeah.
And then midway through it, the same thing happened.
Thank you for saying that. Because sometimes you meet some therapists and they're just, and especially for me, to be honest, I know and I understand that maybe for therapy, and I do not know much about it.
Yeah.
But as you said, you need to work around yourself and what works for you. Because for me, I realized it doesn't work for me if I'm given, I don't know, assignments or something like that. I'd rather just deal with it while we're there, because I feel like that's more helpful for me. So I think I like that. I like what you shared, that you did not settle for the first one.
No.
The first 3.
2. Yeah, no, the first 2, I definitely didn't. And also, I don't know if this is going to play a part for you. Cultural context is very important, right?
Exactly.
Extremely important. The first one that I had was a white person. There were certain things about grieving as an African that they couldn't really
understand
or connect or deal with. For instance, in Zimbabwe, people are buried within 3 days. If somebody dies on a Monday, they're buried by Thursday.
Wow.
Whereas here in the UK, somebody dies on a Monday, the 1st of January, they could be buried on the 14th of February, a month and a half later. So trying to make them understand the urgency of dealing with that and how challenging it was, we completely went over their minds.
Yeah.
Second therapist that I had was an Indian woman who was starting to practice in the UK, and I think she had been about 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years in. What made me uncomfortable about dealing with her was the first minute of me trying to narrate something, she started theorizing.
Yeah.
Within the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this about? Then the last one that I had happened to be a black person. I'm not saying go for black people, but the fact that he was black and he just asked me, okay, what's up? Made a big difference, because if already a male African has walked into the door with a problem, he's not about to start dealing with unnecessary questions. Just let the man say what he has to say. And when he did that, the barrier was broken. We were good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for me, that's the thing. What you just said, the context is very important. There's a lot in terms of, especially for me, somebody, maybe it's a bit of my Africanness, whereby you kind of want to, an elder, let's say someone older. If for me, I feel like when someone is younger, I'm not so sure if they're going to understand me from where I'm coming from, or my perspective. I'm just uncomfortable around that. Yeah.
Your spirit will tell you when the right person is the right person.
Yeah.
You best believe that. I deliberately didn't go into the rest of what is going on because I think I have an idea. The fact that we're still talking about the man still being present.
Yes.
And the fact that you are aware that something needs doing, what I would now encourage you to do is to get that crutch.
Yeah, exactly.
To help you deal with a bigger issue that extends to beyond him. Your behavior, I think, and your interaction with him and where you are could be a direct outcome and association with what is really bubbling under.
Yeah.
Because if it's not him, you feel like now you're ready to let him go, fine, let him go. But what confidence do you have that the next person you meet, you're not going to be flirtatious with?
Exactly.
It could be the same trend. Okay, I'm going to be flirtatious with the guy, make him wait for a good 6 months. Then as soon as we have the sex, that control is
gone.
Is gone. And bear in mind, whatever age you are now, that's how much history you have of this problem being a problem that you're working around in your engineering.
Oh, that's heavy to hear.
So the sooner you pay attention to that to get it fixed, I think the sooner you give yourself time to understand it and be equipped with what you need to heal and do and be better for yourself.
Yeah, thank you for this. I think for me sometimes, when I was to talk about this, I think sometimes when you talk and listening, especially from your perspective, it kind of helps me to unearth and to see how, the decisions you make sometimes, at that point of time, you think it makes sense. But when somebody else is looking at it, then they can pinpoint and tell you, you made this decision or you did this, but look at what the outcome is to you. Is it building or destroying you? I feel like this session has been probably, let's say, the first therapy session for me in terms of just talking about it. Because I think, and also talking about it with getting the male perspective around it. Because, when I talk to my girlfriends, it's easy for them to be like, leave that guy, that's not the best guy, and we're not really breaking it down on how this man is, bad for me, and also looking at it not only about that, but the deeper stuff that I need to deal with. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
I'll definitely keep tabs to to find out how that is going. It's a pity you're not here long enough, but I have someone I can directly refer to you right now who has offered to support people that come on the Feeling Station podcast. And the reason why I say it's a shame, because remote versus in person are the same as having phone sex and real sex on a bed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry to use that excuse. but it for me again.
Oh, so you actually think that in person is probably that's also the issue.
100%. 100%. Human energies in an enclosed room with the occasional silence.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You cannot replace it. Even this recording I'm doing with you in the same room feels so different to all the ones that I do over the telephone.
Okay.
I get to see your expressions. I feel your expressions.
Yeah.
I can see you when you sigh. I can see when you're having a good laugh. I can feel how good it is. It makes that much more of a difference to be with someone in person.
Okay.
So even as you're going on this journey of yours, please, if you can, sit in a room with someone. There's something about being in 4 closed walls and you have an individual who is looking out for your welfare.
Yeah.
Because what it feels like is, here is someone who is stepping in for me.
Yeah.
Which is why even when you look at the Bible, the disciples that walked with Jesus, they had an incredible and intimate experience with that man that only we can imagine. And if we were to have the same up until now, I'm pretty sure all of us would be better humans for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about it in that format as well.
Yeah, we'll do.
Well, you guys have been listening to another midweek drop. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you in next weekend's episode. Peace.